Hi, I'm Gilly Bond, a specialist pelvic health physio, and I'm answering your questions about bladder pain syndrome. I'm answering your questions, and the one that was sent to me earlier yesterday was, why is my pelvic floor tight? What has that got to do with anything? I've got bladder pain syndrome, I've got interstitial cystitis, why is my pelvic floor tight? Okay, first off, go and watch one of the videos about what is IC, what is bladder pain syndrome, what's the difference between them, why? Tell me! And then you'll understand why I'm now just calling it BPS, okay, bladder pain syndrome. So, if you've got bladder pain syndrome, we know that you will have a tight pelvic floor. Partly that's because the pelvic floor is the muscle that puts your tail between your legs in a dog, and unfortunately, or any other animal that has a tail, we still have tails. So from an emotional point of view, if you are ever traumatised, we know that that muscle goes into spasm. Now we have a physical trauma, don't we? We have this pain down below. But we also know that that muscle responds emotionally. So they did this really cool study a while ago now. I think it was quite a few years ago, where they made lots of people watch horror films and some people not watch horror films, and they found that the first muscle to twitch when something scary happens was the pelvic floor. So the pelvic floor is the first thing to go into spasm, and that makes sense. It's an area that we want to protect. It's a really valuable area to the body. It's where procreation, life, excretion, everything happens. Everything happens in that area, and it's very vulnerable because it doesn't really have much bone underneath, but it is encircled by bone. That's why we really take care of our pelvic region. It's encircled by bone, but the centre and underneath doesn't have any bone to protect it. So if the muscles go into spasm, it lifts everything out of the way. It's just a bit more tension for anything to attack it to get through. So we know there's an emotional element to it. We know that there, from a threat perception point of view, threat, as remember, is how we talk about pain. And if you've not looked at the pain chat, then have a look at the pain video. I can't remember what I called it, but I'll have pain in the title. What is pain, maybe? But we talk about threat, so the pelvic floor is going to be the first one to respond to any kind of threat or pain. But then also we know specifically in bladder pain syndrome that the area of the brain, when it's been dealing with that area, with a problem downstairs for a very short period of time, with an infection, with a trauma, with whatever has happened, the three bits that are very closely connected in the brain that are responsible for how much attention you pay to your bladder, how full it feels, and how urgent you are with going to the toilet, and how tense your pelvic floor is at any one time. Those three areas, very closely linked, they become upregulated or heightened. So we pay more attention to our bladder all the time, it's on my mind. Oh, I need the toilet. We also feel like we need the toilet more when we've only got a little bit in our bladder, because that's a heightened response. And our pelvic floor goes into tension. So it's a centrally driven thing. We talk about this being central because this is your computer, and if the computer program, it's a programming issue that's saying on, so you get really tight and tense. When that happens for a long period of time, we also know that the pelvic floor has issues with its blood flow and its nerves. It's fine, it's working, but it's not working functionally. So when it's stuck like this for a long period of time, and you can think about it if you grip your fist, the blood flow can't get round, so it can't oxygenate the whole of the muscle. So the muscle becomes hypoxic, it lacks oxygen to some degree. And that's a challenging situation in which it functions. So it's not going to function as well as it could. It's not going to be open to movement. It's not going to be open to protective spasms or what we call preemptive or predictive movement. And we also get change in the nerves. So the nerves become more hypersensitive, which means they're more likely to fire at anything. So a small signal and then, whoa, it's got to go off. And that perpetuates the tension in the muscle, because the way that the brain then interprets that is, whoa, stuff is going down, you're being attacked downstairs, there are bears everywhere that are attacking you, we're going to keep everything tight to stop you from being attacked and to prevent you from any further attacks. Okay, so that's why the pelvic floor is in tension. and it's a key thing that we want to work with in bladder pain syndrome to get you better for lots of different reasons. So go and watch some of the videos about the muscles if you're interested to learn further about how to get yourself better. Hi, while I've got you here for a second, if you're a physio or a physical therapist interested in learning more about what I'm talking about, how we holistically manage someone in pelvic pain with a much better idea of how to apply the best of pain science in the clinic, then my Happy Bladder course, which is based on bladder pain but is really much more of a holistic view of how we treat all pain states in the pelvis. I'm working really hard to get that up online for everyone, hopefully early 2020, so the beginning of next year. So check back on the website, keep your eyes peeled on my social media, and if you're interested, the course should be going live early next year. Thanks.